Welcome to the Accelerate and Grow podcast. I'm Catherine Pierce, my husband Tab Pierce with Network Live, and we come together, bring industry leaders that can give you valuable information that you can implement starting today so that you can help accelerate your progress and help you achieve more in your life. So
Can I introduce Chris?
Okay.
I'm going to interrupt. I want to introduce Chris.
Yes.
So the coolest thing about, so I mean, we sit here and just like talked. I was almost hoping, like, boy, you know, that the podcast was running, that we were starting, because there was so much valuable that Chris was talking about. But, you know,
I don't think you even said his full name. Tell.
Chris Carlisle.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just excited. I'm just rolling because I'm excited. So I will just say this, since you corrected me. This is the story of my life. Is that, you know, Chris is one of our speakers at the Accelerate Business Growth Summit that we have coming up on September 30th, and I'm super excited to have him there. He was one of our talking like he's not here. He was one of our fireside chat speakers, and Shay Hillenbrand was there, and Shay, who is a very, you know, like, he's a type A personality, I'm a type A personality, and we're always like climbing over each other to see who can be type A1. And he comes up to me and goes, dude, that guy, I'm so glad he's one of your speakers. He goes, you know, he goes, like, he's a genius. I'm like, and I think what is really, like, interesting, Chris, is, you know, your history about starting off as a high school football coach, and then going through the college level, and then ultimately, winning a championship at all of those levels, but then winning a Super Bowl.
Yes.
And I believe the only person who accomplished that, and you can talk about that and straighten me out and get that, but that whole that experience that we had at the fireside chat, and even just the start of this, that knowledge that you bring. I mean, if everybody just shows, and we have great speakers, I don't want to discount everybody else, but if everybody just shows up and listens to you, I mean, there's like drastically impacted. So sorry, I stole
that is okay.
Your thunder in that. So, but and of course, you know, there's a lot of people here that are Arizona Cardinal fans, and I respect you, but thankfully he did it for the best team in the NFL with the Seattle Seahawks. But Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited. I'm excited anytime around you guys. You guys are just full of energy, and I plug in, and you know, I can't wait. So when you sent me a message and said, hey, do you have time? And you know, I drove 30 minutes to come down and see y'all. So this is great.
And we're appreciative of that, and grateful for that, and just so many of your stories. You know, there are things like when we talk about this, like when you come to a conference like we're having on September 30th, it's like not every single thing everybody says has to impact us, right? I mean, and what we keep saying is, you know, if people show up for themselves, so they can kind of come in and prepare to
receive just one nugget.
Yeah, even. Just receive a nugget. And that was when we had you out at that fireside chat. I mean, there were a lot of nuggets, and I remember leaving going, man, I consider myself pretty dialed in, pretty focused, and I was like, you know, Chris gave me like things to like level up and shoot for, and that you know how it is when you reach a certain age, when you have a certain level of experience, it becomes more and more difficult to find those people that have information that's going to push you and drive you further than what you've already experienced. So, you know, when you look back, and I know you're going to talk about a lot of this at the conference, but but there's some key things that you talk about. And one of them, and I'd never heard the story, and so and we talked about it before we got in, and I'm like, wait, I haven't heard this one yet. And it was you getting your first college position, and you were
Yeah.
just talking about making $400 a month or something
Yeah.
like that. That to me is just amazing.
Yeah, well, I was. It was in my second high school job. My first, and the first part of my book, Move or Die, I talk about arrogance, ignorance, and inflexibility. And when I talk about arrogance, my first high school job, I applied for no assistance job. I'm just coming out of college. All right, I knew nothing, but I knew everything.
Right.
You know, the old saying of, I didn't know what I didn't know. But I'd been a fan for football for forever. As long as I could remember, I knew everything about football. I got to my first job, and I didn't know a thing. And that was the epiphany. We were 1-3. I was driving the school bus back to the stadium after getting beat. And the epiphany hit me. I didn't know anything. So I went into my second high school job. And after 6 years there, my offensive line coach from college called me. He was at the University of Arkansas and said, hey, do you want to come to the University of Arkansas, work in the weight room as a graduate assistant? I didn't hesitate 2 seconds. I said, yes, I'll be there. Now, as a teacher, I was making teacher money, which was you make a living. My wife owned her own business. We lived in her grandparents' house for free. And so everything was going well. But I said, hey, I have a chance to go to college, because my dreams since I was 10 years old was to win a Super Bowl. And I couldn't do it at the high school I was at. So I had to take that next step. I had to go ahead and jump off the edge and hope I get caught by the wind. And so we went to the University of Arkansas. My wife said, hey, it's got to be better. High school job, college job. I said, oh, you don't worry about it. Things are taken care of in college. I made $400 a month, 10 months of the year. Rent was $450 a month, 12 months of the year. All right. So that was the last economic decision I made for my family. But the thing is that if I didn't make that jump, if I didn't go for that risk, if I didn't risk it a little bit, I would never met John Stuckey. And none of you know who John Stuckey is, but John Stuckey was probably the premier strength coach in the nation at that time. He was at the University of Arkansas. He eventually went to the University of Tennessee. And I followed him there after a couple jobs through. And then Pete Carroll called John Stuckey, who was one of his friends from the University of Arkansas, North Carolina State. And he said, hey, John, I want the best strength coach you know. He goes, he's right here. And he sent me out there. So if I had not made that risk to go to John Stuckey at the University of Arkansas, and Pete Carroll made that call, I would have never been in the network, which got me to USC, which got me to Seattle, which helped me win that Super Bowl. And so in life, you've got to take those calculated risks, because it was calculated, because even if I got my master's degree and college didn't work out for me, or the NFL, I still would be paid higher at a high school job because I had my master's degree. So it was a win-win. But for a year and a half, my wife and I had to go ahead. One of our favorite meals was eating garlic twists in spaghetti sauce. That was like, all right, we have money, and we get the 2-for-1 deals at places to go eat, and then we go to the bars where the football players were the bouncers and the bartenders. Uh-huh. So we never paid for anything there. So that year and a half that we were getting my master's, it was really a great time for us really to get closer and closer. We've been married for 33 years. It's just one of those things that we were able to get tighter and understand that we could make it through anything at that time.
Yes, that's fantastic. I love that.
And the risk that you talk about taking, often we shrink. We just stop and we just say,
we want to be safe.
And we want to be safe, and we want, and we come up with the reasons why we can't do the hard thing and make the hard decision. And we spend all of that time looking at it and going, well, if we do this, we might not have enough money. We might be eating garlic knots with spaghetti all the time. And we might be, we might have to be going to places where the football players are the bouncers so we can get stuff for free. Yeah. And it's not as comfortable as living at grandma and grandpa's house. And we're not, and so we stay in the comfort zone because comfort is comfortable. And that's, it's the comfort zone that allows us to do something on a Friday night that says it's a 3-day weekend. on social media, hey, anybody have any Netflix series that they love? Has to be 3 seasons because I don't want to invest my time in one season.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so we get comfortable. And it's those uncomfortable situations like making a decision for what's better. And the irony is you look back with fondness.
Yes.
Right.
Yep, without a doubt.
You don't look back
Without a
and go like,
Not how hard it was. No, we never
Right.
did. We never looked at it that way.
Yeah.
My wife got into, she taught at a preschool and loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it was just another expansion of her life that she stretched her borders. She'd never gotten into education and, you know, as far as teaching, and she did that and loved it, and did that in a couple other places where we lived. But it's Tab, it's that trust that you've got to have in yourself. You've got to believe in yourself. The old saying that if you don't believe in you, who's going to?
Yes.
You know, you've got to take that risk. If you've prepared yourself to do what is necessary to accomplish your goals, then you've got to take those risks, and you got to trust yourself. My wife trusted me to go ahead and sell everything and walk away from what was easy. You know, to stop thinking good and go for great.
yeah.
Because we were good. We were
Right.
We were fine. We were fine. We're doing okay. But okay isn't good enough for me. And it shouldn't be okay for you either. Good enough is not good enough unless you're pushing that envelope to see how far you can take your life. And if you're really, to me, everything's a competition. Whether it's my life or anything. I remember we went to one of my son's parent-teacher conferences. And she said, well, we need to talk about Alex. And I said, well, you know, and she said,
That's not really a good sign.
yeah. And,
No, I know where
what's the
this is
problem?
going to
Well,
go.
he's got to be first all the time.
Yeah, so what's the problem?
He's got to be first in line. He's got to be first in recess. He's got to be the first one to read.
Yeah, so what's the problem?
And I said, what's the problem?
Right.
You know, to me, in the real world, people, if you're waiting for people to step back and give you a spot, you're going to
It's not
wait your
gonna
whole
happen.
life, because that's not the way it is. There is a scoreboard out there. There is a competition because the best people achieve the best things. And everybody has it in them to do it. You've just got to trust you to do what you do best. And I talk about your crayons all the time. And crayons to me are your what? The thing that makes you unique. What makes you unique and different and special? And when you find out what your crayons are, what those, because everybody, think about 500 crayons sitting on the table here, and each one is a different different ability, a different skill. And if you, how many would be in your box when you filled up your box? 500?
500, yeah.
100? I had 8. I had 8 crayons. That's all I have in my box. That's all I'm good at. But here's the thing. Those who have 500, I can do better because I use all 8 every single day. What bothered me when I was sitting there with my 8 crayons, and by mid-quarter, my crayons were shrapnel. Those big 8 thick crayons. And I didn't even have the box. The box was gone. It disintegrated. And I had the sandwich bag, not Ziploc, because we didn't have Ziploc
Right.
at the time. We had the sandwich
Yeah,
bag.
you
okay?
fold it over.
Foldovers.
I'm going to be 61 in 4 days, okay? And so I had sandwich bags, not Ziploc. We weren't in the space age yet. Not even Velcro. We had Tang, though.
Oh, yeah,
All right?
yeah,
We
yeah.
had
Oh, yeah,
the
there
space
you
age
go.
drink.
Oh,
okay?
yeah.
So you jack your kids up with a little Tang in the morning.
That's
Go.
right.
And
Send
then
them out
the
the door.
teacher's problem when the sugar loss, right? And so my crayons, I only had 8 that I really knew, but I use them every single day. So I'd sit there in class and I'd look at the desk next to me, and there's 120 crayons with a crayon sharpener in the back. And I felt bad, not because they had, the person next to me had 120, but the crayons they had that flat top, which meant that came right out of the factory. They weren't using all 120 crayons. How many crayons do you use? How many crayons are in your box right now that you don't use? Why not is the next question. I know who I am. I know where I'm at. I know how to do, because I grind and I work and I'm focused and I'm a motivator and I'm educated. You know, I'm a student of life, and I use that every single day, and I'm always searching, how can I do this better? And then there's people with all these skills and talents, and they're stuck and they stagnate, and professionally they die. They don't get any farther because they're afraid. We talked about trust. They're afraid to take that leap of faith and trust themselves that I have the crayons in my box to get this thing done. Oh, if we can go ahead and get people to understand how many crayons they have in their box that aren't being used, and they start using them, their life is going to open up, and everything they ever dreamt for and about will happen to them. It's that close to them because it's on their desk. And so that's what I talk about when I'm talking about my crayons and the what in your life. And so I try to keep pressing that issue in that we can be so special when we allow ourselves to use every one of the crayons in our box.
So before you started talking about actually using the crayons, not I have 8 crayons in my box that are pristine. There are 8 that are gnarly and beat up and everything else. You know, I don't know if I think you do, but probably everybody's tired of hearing it ad nauseum. My story of like business recovery of being $1 million in debt, and that 26 months, and I would feel early on I would think I feel like I'm a knight going out to battle. And it wasn't until I finally realized in my head, because I would think, man, every day I come home, I go out to battle, I do this thing, and I come home and I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm emotionally beat up because I'm like, people are calling me, where's my money, when are you going to do this? They're not nice. I'm not putting out fires, I'm just making them smolder because they're going to come flaming back up here pretty soon. But it wasn't until I realized that a knight that goes out to battle doesn't come back shiny. They come back.
Sure.
And that armor is beat up, and they can clean it up and they can do whatever so they can go out again the next day and fight. And it's very much like what you're talking about, like with those crayons, like you use the crayons. You don't sit there and say, I've got these crayons. Aren't they pretty?
I don't want to use them.
500
I don't want to get them dull.
500 of them, they're in great shape. But there's something, that I think about, like, does doubt come into your mind? I mean, like, do you ever like push yourself, and then just every once in a while go, man, what the heck was I thinking? And then have to talk yourself out of it. You never do that.
No.
Oh man, that's a special thing.
No, I don't.
And have you always been that way?
Yes. I was born with handicaps in both feet. And so the doctors told my parents, Mr. and Mrs. Carlisle, your son will never run like the other children. And so they wouldn't let me stop working on getting that. And the doctors were right. I didn't run like the other children. I ran better. I earned a scholarship to play football in college because they didn't let me go. Because I didn't walk or run well or walk well, I fell down a lot. And there's the old Japanese proverb that fall down 6, stand up 7. All right. I fell down 700 and stood up 701. One of those times I came up with no front teeth.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so I developed a speech impediment, and it became such that I developed a stutter. And so in 5th grade, I remember sitting outside the classroom parent-teachers conference, and the door was cracked slightly. And the speech therapist of the school said, Mr. and Mrs. Carlisle, your son will never be a public speaker. And like they said, when the doctor said he'll never run like everybody else, my mom gave him a 4-word answer, not 4-letter answer, 4-word. We'll see about that. And so told the speech therapist, we'll see about that. And so we began to work and learn how to breathe right and think my words through. And so what I've done in my life is I think through to the end of the problem. And then I work back and find out what I need to have. And so it's your dream is the far thing out. And then your goals are your mile markers that you set through. And so my dream was to win a Super Bowl. How was I going to? Well, I had to go through high school, and I had to go through college, and then I had to get an NFL job, and then I had to be so good that I could help a team win a Super Bowl. And so I worked back. But no, I don't have a lot of doubt in my life. I understand what we're doing. I have great confidence. I trust myself. I have faith in myself. And to do what I need to do to accomplish what I want to get done.
That's fantastic. I remember having a conversation with our son Jackson, and we always joke that he's like the one with the golden touch or whatever it's called, the Midas touch in our family. And so when he was in high school, he decided, I'm going to go out for the varsity basketball team.
And he was a center football.
Yeah, he was a
Okay.
center football player.
I was a center, yeah.
He was going to go out for the football team. And
No, he was going to go out
I mean,
for the
sorry, basketball team. Yes, and of course he made it. And
But if I can take a step back, he's in junior high, and I, of course, being a dad that cares, I'm like, and a guy that played basketball, I'm like, let me tell you why this isn't going to work out well. Because I care, and I want to protect my son. And all he heard is wah 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 wah. Right? Thankfully, that's what he heard.
yes,
And he goes, yeah, I'm going to go out and try.
that.
I'm going to go out and. He didn't even say try out. I'm going to go.
yeah,
out
he's just I'm going to
go out
play
and
basketball. Yeah.
And he ended up starting.
Right, and he was
Right.
on the team. And I remember having a conversation with him years later because he did the same thing in high school. I'm going to go out for track. I'm going to do discus, and I'm going to do
The
shot
shot.
put. And so I asked him one day, I was picking him up from school, and I said, does it ever occur to you that you might not be able to do something? And he said, no. It doesn't.
I love
and
it.
I was
I
like,
love it.
that is brilliant
Right.
because so many people are afraid of what if I fail? What if I look stupid?
Mm-hmm.
What if this doesn't work out the way I want it to? And it keeps them stuck where they're at.
How about that?
And it's a mentality too, because he started playing football in second grade,
Mm-hmm.
and he played with the same. He played with kids 2 years older than him, right? Because he was a big kid,
Mm-hmm.
and like his mom, and and
He'll be paying for that
I'll
afterwards.
be paying for that later. But it was totally worth it. It was trust me, man, it was worth it. But he he was a big kid, so he played 2 years ahead, and then by the time he gets to seventh grade or eighth grade or whatever the kids are now that he played with are in high school playing, so he ends up playing with a younger team that he hadn't played with for whatever 5, 6, 7
Age
years.
appropriate, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But the teams that he was with, conditioning was really big. This other team wasn't. They just didn't. They played. They enjoyed themselves. They had fun. And my son, our son, I
Thank
think he's
you.
both of our sons, comes out and he goes to the coach and said, "Are we going to do conditioning?" Coach said, "Well, we don't. We do some of that," or however he said it. And Jackson, who is I think seventh or eighth grade,
Yeah.
said, "Can I run it?" And they said, "Yeah, go ahead." And he was brutal. He just ran these kids into the ground, kids crying, kids puking. I had, no joke, man, I had parents coming up to me going, "You need to tell him to stop."
Yeah.
And I went, because I had this mad respect for this eighth grade kid and a little bit of intimidation because he was a driver, right?
Absolutely.
And I said, "Hey, if you don't want him to do it, you go talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to talk to my son and tell him to slow down. You go talk to him." And they all just went, "Well, I don't think it's right," and they walked away.
Yeah.
They got their word in, but that's a special skill set because one of the things the reason why I ask is doubt creeps into my mind. I'll be doing something. And I have so many things going on, with all of the different, companies that I'm running, everything that's going on, and doubt will creep in. And the things that I know is, one, I never quit. Quit is not an option, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which means that doubt has to leave quickly because I can't keep going
Sure.
and have doubt. And so I have to sit there and tell myself, we're going to have a conversation. Do you have faith in yourself? Yes. Do you have a belief in yourself? Do you do this? Yes. Do you have this? Yes. Then you need to get rid of the doubt right away because the doubt isn't serving you. So when you sit there and say, "I never have doubt," I'm like, man, that's an envious thing.
But it happens all over the place.
Yeah.
It happens throughout history. I was watching a movie, Exodus, okay? And I was watching, and so here comes the Israelites out of Egypt, and the Pharaoh is chasing them, and the Red Sea opens up, and they go across, and they get to Sinai, and they get the Ten Commandments. From Sinai to Canaan, the Promised Land, took them 40 years.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't know how, I guess I knew how far, but I always accepted, well, it's a long walk.
Right.
And I looked it up while I was watching it. I thought, how long is that? It's an 11-day walk from Sinai to Canaan. Okay?
That
Why
took 40
did
years.
why did it take 40? Because they took wrong turns?
Yes.
Okay. They lacked faith and trust. Okay, they didn't trust their leaders who'd taken them out of Egypt.
Through the Red Sea.
Well, they didn't have faith in Yahweh, their God, who opened up the Red Sea,
Yes.
who brought water from the stone, who brought manna from heaven when they were hungry. I don't have faith. I don't believe. I don't. How many
Right.
times do we have this? We have all these great gifts in our life, the things that we can do, the things that we know are so much better than everybody else, but we don't have faith and trust in ourselves, and then we begin to doubt, and then we get stuck.
And the stuck part is the part we can't get. We can't get stuck. If somebody does experience doubt, they need to extinguish it within minutes.
Right.
Not days, not weeks. It's something you need to extinguish fast. And it's interesting when you talk about all of those things, and I love that you brought up that it's 11 days because you're like one of the only people. Like, I remember reading that one day, going, "What?
I
It took
know.
40 years to
11
go.
days?
11 days?
Yes.
Who's a tour guide?
Right.
So I'm having this conversation with this guy the other day, having breakfast, and he's beat up. He's like, what am I going to do with this? I got all this stuff coming down, all these problems, all these things, and I go, how many days have you been homeless? Never. How many days have you gone without food? Never. I'm like, and then this particular guy, I'm like, you've even served time in prison. I mean, that's harder than anything I've done. I'm just telling you, I haven't done that,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Amen.
And I'm like, you got all these things that are in front of you, and I'm like, and you've accomplished them all, and yet you sit here and you worry like that somehow you're not going to have food. And your whole entire life you've had it. It's been there. We actually live in a time when having food isn't the problem. It's having too much food
Right.
available to us. But when I look at all of the things that you've accomplished and all of the things that you bring, and we've just touched the tip of the iceberg. And when I think about having you at our conference, and I mentioned this to somebody else, I said, we had 7 speakers, and Chris came into our life, and I was like, I don't have room for another speaker, and then we had this person that was waffling about it, and then I finally heard Chris speak. I mean, I heard you speak. I watched a video, and I just went to Catherine. I was like, "Holy smokes, man!" I'm like, "We got to have this guy." I mean, you jump from being like, to the top. I mean, we've got some great speakers
Yeah.
that are there. But one of the things that we're trying to get through to people is the need for them to invest in themselves, and the need to show up and to be prepared to listen. And I mean, what's your experience with people that are prepared to learn, and people, because you're a coach and you've seen it all, people that come prepared, and people that invest in themselves, and people that don't?
Right. I've got the 5 P's of performance, okay? First of all, you have to have passion. You have to have passion. I want to be better than what I am right now. That's simple. Everybody can have a passion about that. Second thing is preparation. That's the stuff that's done in the dark that nobody sees. It's what I lived my whole career in, lifting weights. We had no fans watching that. The second thing is practice. Practice what you're going to do all the time. Then you go ahead and perform. And the last thing is perseverance. And all that stuff, the preparation. I am the greatest thief of coaches. I've stolen all these ideas. My master's degree is in history, and so I look all the time for people to help me understand why this is happening or how I can make it better. And to sit in a room with 8 proven entities that will tell you their secrets. Okay? You don't have to read. You don't have to read between the lines. You're going to sit there and you're going to listen to people who are proven entities in their fields that have went from where you're at to where you want to be. From a high school coach to a Super Bowl champion. From a kid, 10-year-old, who had a dream to win a Super Bowl. Now, how did I get there? I asked questions. I am the king of stupid questions. You can't ask more stupid questions than I have in my life. It's a truth. If I don't know, I'm going to ask. Our communication when you linked in with me, my first thing was, I've got 2 questions. What topic is everybody going to use so I don't step on anybody's toes?
Right.
And the second thing was, what is my time, so I can start building my talk. I don't want to step on people's toes. I've got a whole bag of stories I can get to. So if somebody's talking about this, I'll stay away. I'll go ahead and find something else to talk about that came out of my life or people's life that I stole from, that I found this fits into my life.
Right.
And so this preparation thing, this need to hear other people who are successful. The first thing is you get information. That's great. We all need more information. We all can be smarter. Secondly, it's going to excite you to go ahead and take that next step. I go back to the Indiana Jones movie where his father was bleeding, and he had to make the leap of faith to get to the chalice to save his dad's life. It's your why. It's your reason why you want to do this. So why have you been stopped? Because I don't have the energy. I don't know. I don't know if I'm good enough. Come to the conference. Come to the summit and understand that we are all just like you. That we all have started one place and are climbing to the next, and you can do it too. I was a high school coach. I was just at a Class C2. That's one step above 8-man football in Nebraska. All right, it is. I mean, not even having 11 men. One step away from that, and all of a sudden, I'm in New York winning the Super Bowl because I believed that I could do it, and I asked all the stupid questions.
And you just brought up to a thought to me is, sometimes people look and see where we're at now and don't see where we came from. You talk about where you started. Catherine, who has been over the last 6 years, like doing phenomenal things in business. Prior to that was it was a
stay-at-home mom and
stay-at-home mom and caregiver, and it's just the change of what you did. I mean, like looking at me, I sold when I first started out paint.
Yes.
Right? I sold paint,
married.
right? I mean, we called it industrial coatings, but it was paint for wood. That's what it was, man. And that's where I got my start. And everything starts with something and everything goes. I mean, even Naveen Jain, who's going to be speaking, who's a multi-billionaire, came to the U.S. with $5 in his pocket, was ready to leave and go back till somebody talked to him about staying because him staying mattered. Karen Worstel, who's a 3-time Chief Information Security Officer running all the security for 3 Fortune 500 firms, started off in that because she needed to do something to take care of her family. So it's not like everybody or even Shay, right? I mean, Shay didn't wake up. I mean, he had this dream of being a Major League Baseball player, and he had that vision to do that, and he created, he had the vision and then created a life that proved that vision a reality. But everybody started at none of us that are speaking just showed up and went oh, look, I happen to be born into a family with $1 billion,
Right.
I mean, so all of it is our ability to take that information that people give, and sometimes we feel bad, I don't want to use that information, but R&D stands for rip off and duplicate, right? I mean, not really, but it's research and development, but it's rip off and duplicate. And so our hope is that people, when we do these podcasts, when we do this message, that something inside of somebody is going to go man, if I show up, I could be a little bit better. We're not talking about that they have to make maybe they will. Some people will they'll have a massive awakening and catapult themselves into greatness. But sometimes all we need is a nugget. We just need something to get us moving in that direction. And if we get that, then that's where we're going to be. But I know we're just about time's up, but man, Chris, thanks for being here with us.
Thank
loved
you
it.
so
and
much.
and man, I'm so excited. You know, I'll say this to everybody, to every speaker, right? That I'm excited to hear from them, but I'm excited to hear from you because you bring some things that I don't have, and that I want to, you know, again, with the rip off and duplicate or learning from other people, you should never be too old to learn.
Oh,
Yeah.
And you should never put
Every
yourself in
day.
a position, right? I mean, I can learn from somebody that's 25, and it
Yeah.
doesn't
Right,
matter.
yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter. It's like we're there to learn, and we're there to improve in that. So thank you.
I loved it. It was great.
I guess in closing, we obviously said thanks to Chris, and thanks to the beautiful Miss Catherine for joining me on this. But, our goal here with the podcast is to help you find a nugget, help you find something that's going to just, like before you got on here, Chris talked about seeds being sprayed on rocks and then them finding root and finding an ability and a way to grow, through obstacles. That's what you have an opportunity here to do, is to grow under adverse conditions and to grow at a level that you haven't been able to grow up to this point. And that's why we're here for this podcast and for the conference and all. So thank you for listening, and hope you'll be joining us for all of the other podcasts that we have coming up. And again, Chris, thanks a bunch for
Thank you so
for
much.
being here
Having
with
me. I
us.
appreciate it. It was
Yeah,
great.
man,
It
this
was
is a
great.
lot
I
of fun.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you.